It's late night with FBU NC. Hi, everyone. Neil Sika again in New Jersey. We're wrapping up round 3 of the 2015 FBU National Championship. The road to Naples. Oh, we are just moments away from hearing from Pops. Al Papadines is back in Pennsylvania somewhere, but he's going to check in, give us his thoughts on the day. We're going to start in the East. We've got 15 games to catch up on. Greenbrier East High School, the site. Here are the 8th grade finals. South Jersey, this was Pops' dark horse. They beat Connecticut 27-0. Burrell, L, Nicholson, Honorado, they all had touchdowns in that effort. Maryland, 39-0 over Indiana. Marshawn Lloyd had a 19-yard rush touchdown. He had a 50-yard touchdown as well. Blake Corum also knocked in a couple of scores. The 7th graders from Maryland pasted Indiana 50-6. John Griffith, 3 touchdown passes in that one. 5 different players overall for Maryland had a touchdown. So your matchups in the regional final, it's Rhode Island, a Cinderella of sorts, taking on Indiana. Then a traditional matchup in 7th grade with Massachusetts and Maryland. And the 8th graders, that'll see South Jersey take on Maryland. So Pops, the dais is set in the East in West Virginia for the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teams. And we see a traditional matchup at the 7th grade level with Maryland and Massachusetts, and then a little bit of a surprise with South Jersey and Rhode Island. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Another long day here, the FBUNC, but it's well worth it when you see all these athletes and the great things they're doing on the field, man.
So what caught your eye right off the top? Let's start 6th grade briefly and talk Rhode Island. This team with Gibbons, who has been sensational running the football. Indiana last year, their 6th graders made a run to the national semifinal. That should be a good matchup.
Absolutely. And you said it with Gibbons. He's the breakout star of the tournament. You know, every year on the 6th grade level, there's a kid that comes out of nowhere and really makes a name for himself on a national level, and that's what he's done so far.
7th grade, we haven't seen this matchup in a couple of years. You got to go back to 2013, but Maryland, Massachusetts, somewhere along the line, it's usually a collision course.
Yeah, these two battle it out year in and year out. And with Maryland this year, you said 5 different players scoring touchdowns. They are balanced. They're good on both sides of the ball.
You were born and raised in the northern part of Jersey, but some part of you says South Jersey, dark horse, getting it done when you talk about the way they're running the football right now, but Maryland looking really strong at the 8th grade level.
Yeah, you know, back when I did my predictions with the Pops Top 4, I really thought South Jersey had something special going. They're putting together this team the right way with a lot of good players from all over the southern part of the state. And, you know, I was a little gun-shy on picking them as one of the top 4, but you see why I chose them as a dark horse so far.
Well, it should set up for a fun day of matchups in the southeast part of West Virginia. That's a look at the East. Now we're going to move on and give you some scores from the South and get Pops' reaction there. So let's head down to the Buford Sports Complex in Buford, Georgia, and look at some scores from the South here in this round 3. 8th grade, Dade. This was the number 1 seed according to Pops, but they struggled. They turned it over 5 times, including 4 fumbles. They pull it out late, though. They beat Tampa 18-13. Edwin Rhodes, a touchdown pass. Henry Bryant scores from a yard out. Watkins had a rushing TD in defeat for Tampa. At the 7th grade level, Broward, 39-12. They were all over Tampa. Big game for Amari Daniels. He had 3 touchdowns. Nick Vadiato, 2 touchdown passes through the air. At the 6th grade level, that Broward team again is advancing. They beat Tampa 20-8. Jacoby Spells had a rushing touchdown. Julian Lewis, a 22-yard TD. The Tampa D played well. They had 4 sacks. Your regional final matchups. 6th grade features Broward and GFL. Then GFA will play Broward in the 7th grade. And at 8th grade, GFL and Dade. So, Pops, if you look at the scores from the end of the day, there are only 3 team associations that have put all their grade levels into the regional final. One is GFL, but that's no surprise. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they'll be there. You've got 2 Broward teams and the Dade team at 8th grade. And I want to start with them because for all of the talent they have, they nearly gave that game away to Tampa.
You know, we were talking as the game was going on, Neil, and I told you, Dade did everything they could to lose this game, and they still overcame it and won. That speaks to the athleticism and ability that a lot of those kids have. And, you said Henry Bryant with the 1-yard touchdown run. That was the go-ahead score to make it 18-13. When you have a 240-pound defensive lineman lining up at fullback with halfback speed, he's a dangerous kid for Dade to have back there.
Defensively, GFL at the 7th grade level was pretty strong. And they were also strong at the 8th grade level to get past Kentucky. But how about the Broward County 7th graders? Last year as 6th graders, they get all the way down to the championship game. They've got some good experience coming back, and Vadiato is a pretty good passer, but the running game is where they do shine.
Absolutely. They have a nice mix. We talked about Amari Daniels having a big game. That kid is a tough, muscular kid. And then you have somebody like Jaden McBurrows who was a big part of that team getting to the finals last year. And him and Vadiato were actually regular season teammates. So they have a little chemistry going there. And McBurrows is definitely a speedster. He's a track kid that gets around the outside. He's the lightning to Daniels' thunder.
At the 6th grade level, we see GFL and Broward. And as we know every year, it's kind of a toss-up. But when you breed good football players, you start them at a lower level, and so it's not a surprise to see GFL and Broward in this position.
Absolutely not. That GFL, the Gwinnett Football League down there in Georgia, it's 5,000 kids in that league alone. So the cream is going to rise to the top, and there's certainly a bunch of good players. You look at that team, Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. They run an option offense there, and he can run it.
Yeah.
He's smart with the ball. They're a very talented team. And with Broward, it's the same thing as we always talk about. That's where the athletes are. South Florida is known for their speed and their athleticism. Jamari Dukes for Broward is somebody that really had a great tournament. Last 2 weekends, making a name for himself.
And you mentioned Stockton. He had a big TD run today in round 3. So that's a look at the South in Buford, that regional final matchup between GFL at all grade levels and then Broward, Dade. They'll be good ones to watch, and you'll be able to watch those online as well. Let's swing now to the Plains. Mention that GFL has teams at all 3 grade levels in the regional final. Who was the other organization? I'm going to tell you about that right now. We're going to go out to John Paul II High School in Plano, Texas, the Plains Regional. Here are your 8th grade finals in round 3. DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth. 40-16 over Northern Colorado. Great game from Harrison Bohannon, the quarterback. He had 3 touchdown passes. Trey Smith, a 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Franklin, the quarterback for Northern Colorado, good in defeat. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing. North Texas doing what they do, 40-0, no problem. They roll along Kansas City. J.J. Jackson, 2 touchdowns. Cody Chris, 2 rushing touchdowns. Devon Graham, an INT, and then a TD through the air. They move on. 7th grade, DFW, they win again, 53-0. Are you noticing a pattern here? They beat Denver in that score. Stacy Sneed, 3 touchdowns. Magic Rector had 2. 6 players in total had one in the end zone. At 6th grade, we see DFW one more time. 28-0 over Denver. Red and Rice, Savion Red, Glenn Rice, not the basketball player. They had big games. So here are your 6th grade regional final matchups in the Plains. North Texas gets DFW in the 7th grade. It's KC with Manning and his great play, and DFW meeting up. Sneed and Rector having big games tonight. And North Texas watches DFW at the 8th grade level in a matchup where North Texas, keep in mind, they've won at the 6th grade level, the 7th grade level. Now they're trying to get to Naples to win it at the 8th grade level. So Pops, no surprise with the defending champs from the 7th grade as they continue to roll roughshod through this bracket. But how will DFW test them tomorrow?
That's a good question. DFW has shown a lot throughout this tournament. They surprised me. I thought they were going to do well. I didn't think they were going to be doing this well. But this North Texas team, man, they are special. We talked about it on the preview show. This is a family. These kids care a lot about each other. Yeah. And they're putting in work in this tournament, man. I can tell you that much.
Do you think they're better than what they were a year ago?
Absolutely. I think they're more dynamic now. They have a lot more weapons. Their line has always been solid, but now that line is just steamrolling anybody that gets in their way. Offensive line is fluid.
Maybe the bigger surprise right now is the Dallas-Fort Worth team at the 7th grade. They win a shootout. They beat Houston in the opening round. They've got Sneed. They've got Magic Rector. That's a player we heard about last year, and they're looking pretty good. But Manning, he's a pretty good obstacle on the other side in that 7th grade game tomorrow from KC.
KC Metro, hats off to them, came out of nowhere. I didn't know much about them this year. I thought, they'd be a good team. I didn't think they'd be this good at all. I mean, hats off to them. They proved me I don't know everything out there. And for DFW, I mean, you look at that team, Preston Stone at quarterback is one of the most exciting kids in the country. There's a reason he's an FBU All-American. And Stacy Sneed, much how like Casey Metro came out of nowhere, Stacy Sneed arriving on the national scene with authority this tournament.
And we see North Texas, a good crop of young players, sixth graders. Oh, and DFW's there again. So like GFL, they've got a team at all three grade levels and a chance tomorrow at the sixth graders to advance on.
DFW is a hot spot in this country. Everyone knows a lot of football talent in Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area, loaded with, population size alone is loaded, but that also results in good football players. Rice and Red, as you hit on, have been having monster tournaments since round one, and I expect it to continue as well.
All right, Pops, take a sip of coffee because we're going to the West next. We're going to wrap up our recap show in the West, just south of Oakland at Burrell Field. Start with some 8th grade scores. Oregon, they dispatch of Sacramento. It was a little back and forth in the first half, but Oregon pulled away courtesy of Jalen John. Vegas, they eke by L.A. 10-7. Micah Bowen's 27-yard touchdown. Fedor, the field goal that made the difference from 22 yards out. Jaden King had a 45-yard touchdown reception for L.A. in the loss. The 7th grade level, speaking of L.A., they were victorious over Phoenix 14-0. Damaro Strong, a 65-yard TD. Ryan Jordan had a touchdown reception. How about Seattle over Sacramento? 55-0. Paulo Banchero, 4 touchdown passes. Shane Noel, 2 receiving. Jordan and Davis also had 1 each. At the 6th grade level, Seattle 30, Sacramento 0. Tristan Warner, a TD. Passing, he had a 2-point conversion. Leo Pulasi, 65-yard run for that victory. At the 6th grade level in the regional final, you have Orange County taking on Seattle. 7th graders will see Seattle play L.A. And the 8th grade, Oregon and Vegas, a team, Vegas, you speak of, Pops, that was high on your list. They were your 2 seed. Should be a good regional final.
Absolutely. It's my 1 and my 2 out there in the West, and that's going to be a good one for sure. Vegas has a big line, and Oregon's got a smaller line than Vegas does, but not small by any means. And Oregon's got the athletes clearly: Jalen John, Silas Starr, Cade Knight, and the list continues.
Seattle, last year, their 6th graders get down to Naples. 7th grade bunch, my goodness, they put a hurting on Sacramento. And Los Angeles, at this 7th grade group approaching things coming out of the Southern California area, they know they're going to be up for a tall order tomorrow. Yeah,
I had Seattle as my number 1 coming out of this, and for good reason. They had put a running clock on each team they played before halftime. You talk about kids like Julian Simon, who's an FBU All-American, just running all over everybody. And Banchero, he was the quarterback last year that led them far. He's back again this year.
6th grade level, we see Seattle and Orange County. Orange County won a close one to get into this position, and the 6th grade Seattle team well coached, so we should see more of the same, a good football game.
Yeah, a trio of touchdowns today for Demario Young out of Orange County, which it's always great to see your budding stars on the 6th grade level really show up. And then you talk about Seattle, look at the pedigree. Every year this program is strong. For 8th graders, they lost by 7 points to Oregon in round 2. So they didn't go home losers. They played one of the best teams in the country on the 8th grade level and stuck with them. So you look at what they do on 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade. Your Seattle team is following in the footsteps of their older brothers. It's
still a little bit of a ways before we have the finals out west tomorrow in the regionals. Do you see any way a team from outside the Pacific Northwest is not going to Naples?
No. I think one of those teams have to be representing. I'm looking especially at the Seattle 7th grade group. They're a special bunch, man. It's real special.
What can we say about 3 rounds through, the continuity of a lot of these teams that have played together before? It really does make a big difference, doesn't it?
There's a huge difference between a group of athletes on a team and a team. You talk about kids that have come together, have practiced, know each other, have built those friendships and relationships. It goes much deeper than the game of football. It goes much, much deeper, and you see that with the teams that are having success. We've
built that relationship. We're friends by now, right?
Absolutely. How do you not love that hair you got?
I know. How are we going to do this without you tomorrow? We're going to get you back on the phone, recap the regional final. Should be a fun day, and we're getting closer to Naples, pal.
Absolutely. It's got to beat this 45-degree weather that I'm having in Pennsylvania.
Hey, it's 60 at midpoint today in New Jersey, so it's not too bad. Thanks so much for joining us, Pops. We'll talk to you tomorrow, bud.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
That's Alan Poppadines, the National Scouting Director of Youth1.com's football division. We're going to have full coverage for you tomorrow, updates for all the regional finals in the East, South, Plains, and West. You know the drill by now, FBUNC.com, Youth1.com. Thanks to our great crew, keeping you company here up late in Jersey. I'm Neil Sika. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the road to Naples.